Hey everybody, it's Michael Angelo Caruso. I'm here with my friend Tiana Starks. How are you, Tiana?
I am well. How are you, Michael?
I'm good, man. I just want you to know you don't have to get me anything for Christmas this year. Or as I tell some people, you don't have to get me, let's see. If you got me zero for Christmas last year, you have to get me twice as much this year, which is still zero. December 15th, man. Are you ready for the holiday?
um, Mostly it's interesting because I usually wait to the very last minute and I'm like shopping all the way until the end. But I think in our strange COVID environment that we're in, kind of slowed the pace down a little bit, and I've been able to get a little bit more done. So
Yeah, good, good.
yeah, you?
Uh, I'm excited for the holiday season. I'm even more excited for next year. We've all kind of been waiting for something to happen, and both of us do a lot of marketing on social media. You do it for a living. I do it mostly for my business. I do a few podcasts on it once in a while. Um, I think social is a way that you can make things happen, but I think people go about it all wrong. A lot of people, let's just be candid in this interview. A lot of people are lazy. A lot of people don't understand the psychology of marketing. That's different than being lazy. Um, and a lot of people are working with experts like you, and they don't listen to them anyway. We both belong to
Correct.
well, struggle with this because for various reasons, I think. And I thought it would be fun to kind of get under the hood and talk about what causes people to not do what they're supposed to do, and maybe even give some examples from the Rotary world and beyond about how to fix this and how to protect your brand, build it, and get people to benefit from whatever you offer. So I appreciate you being
For
on with me.
sure. Thank you
I
for
want
having me. I definitely, oh, go ahead.
I want to also mention that we're both Rotarians. Tiana is in the Southfield Area Rotary Club here in Southfield, Michigan. I'm in the Troy Rotary Club, also in Michigan. And Tiana is the COO, Chief Operating Officer of a social, I guess the best way to say it is social media marketing company. Is that the best way?
Well, we actually, it's more of digital marketing or strategy in digital marketing.
Okay, very good.
So, yeah,
And I know
we do everything from brand development through execution.
yeah, and I know you're involved with data as well. The website, everybody, is brandhrt.com. It's brandhrt.com. Tiana, I think Facebook had its 10th birthday a couple years ago. You'd think everybody would have the hang of this by now. It's called Facebook. Why don't people want to put up good images? What's the problem here?
Um, why don't people want to put up good images? I think a part of it is people don't really know what good images are.
I think that's accurate.
Sometimes, yeah, people think that, well, this is what I have, so this is what I'm going to post.
Hmm.
Um, like I think you were saying earlier, people don't take the time to understand what it exactly it is. I'm so sorry.
We have a visitor.
Yes, we do.
It's okay. So while Tiana's
I'm
dealing with
sorry.
her guest, uh, let's talk about what it is about images that people get stuck on. I think the first thing is that we get post crazy, like we get a photo in our phone, and then that's the one we're going to shoot or share. Uh, Professional photographers don't work like this. You don't pay a professional photographer to take one photograph and then post it, or two photographs. I mean, you wouldn't pay the guy or gal. You want a whole
Right.
slew of them. You want different angles. You want different light sources. You want a longer shot, a close shot, all kinds of options. And then you post the best of those 10 photos. But most people don't roll that way, right?
And in addition to that, people don't realize that a lot of the magic happens on the back end of the camera, the
Yeah.
editing. Like
Yeah.
editing is what takes the majority of the time and cost when it comes to doing photo shoots, even product shoots, even if you're just shooting like a static image.
Yeah, 100%. I will tell you, in early days, people thought this was vanity, but then they started to get the hang of it themselves. I rarely post a photo without doing something to it. So I don't know about what you say, what you're referring to when you say editing, and if it's more technical, I'd like to hear about it. But I'm talking about really simple things like brightening, putting more light on it, which you can do easily in iPhones now. It's called brightness, or what's the other term for it?
Vibrance, maybe?
Exposure.
Oh, exposure. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I do, it's very easy, is you find saturation and you can put some color into it. Very, very easy to do. But I
Mhm.
think the thing I do most often is crop the damn thing. I I do that little square thing, and I make it the shape I need it to be, because I can cut out all that extra stuff that the eye goes to let you know it's not really a together photograph. Are you talking about edits like that or something even more refined?
Well, I'm talking about something a little bit more refined, just when it comes to what we do as an agency. One of our products is actually called Digital Rack, and what we do is help retailers get their products up in a way that's consistent every time. So our process is kind of more detailed because we want everything to show up exactly the same on the
Yes.
site. But I think the tips that you gave are really good for people who just are trying to build a presence or establish a brand online, just to make sure that when you look at the photo, like, do you like it? Ask that question before
Yeah.
you post it.
Yeah. Um, so I think it's situational. Everybody's going to decide for themselves. But a lot of people will be scratching their head a few minutes into this talk saying, well, which of these things should we do? I mean, I can't do all of them. I just want to do a couple of them. How do I know if I'm actually succeeding more on social? One benchmark I use, and I'm just a Flintstone. I know you get into data and metrics and analytics and all that stuff. And I'd like to learn more about that, especially what you do as an agency. But one of the things I tell people is, if you're on Facebook, just try to get, say, 10 pieces of engagement. And people sometimes ask, well, what's engagement? It's any number of things. And you know this, emoticons are the least valuable to me. I like an emoticon, but I would rather have, say, a comment.
Mhm.
And comments are great, but comments could be negative. I'd much rather have a share than a comment, because I
For
think
sure.
shares are worth more points. So if I could get 10 pieces of engagement, however they add up, I'm like, well, okay, that was a post that resonated with people. You do heavier metrics and analytics on the back end. Do you look for a certain number or benchmark when you're trying to talk about successful or unsuccessful campaigns?
So for us, a lot of what we do is, I mean, we do social media management, but when we're looking at the data, it's more around our paid media campaigns.
Okay.
So we're looking at kind of impressions, click-throughs, cost per click,
Yep.
trying to optimize those types of things. But when it comes to just social sharing, I think it all kind of works together.
Yeah.
I would agree with you as far as like your rating. Comments are more valuable than the likes, and then shares are like gold.
Yeah.
We even when we are doing paid media campaigns, we want people to be sharing those. But I think they all work together. I like to see a lot of likes because then the algorithm knows that people are engaging with this content. So they'll show it to more people, and then you're more likely to get more of the other things. And likes are a lower barrier. Like, people are more likely to like your stuff than to comment or share.
Yeah, for sure. In the same way, one word questions like, do you like this? Do you like the one on the left or the one on the right? You're going to get more people responding, which is going to make the algorithm sing than if you said, explain in your best words what a holiday means to you. And people go, hell with that. I don't have time today.
Right.
So I think in a way what we're trying to do, and this is where the psychology comes in, is we're trying to trick people into leaving a little bit of themselves in the post. This is a very, very important thing to do. And it's especially important if you're trying to build relationships with a client base or pull prospects into the sales funnel, something that Rotary clubs and all kinds of meeting planners are doing now, because we live in a virtual world. They're trying to get all these people to these events. And I keep telling them, man, you got to engage them in comments. And that means they're not the only ones commenting in the thread. So you ask a question, then they answer, and then you comment on their comment, because
Yeah.
that algorithm likes that too. And by the way, everybody, if you commented on every comment, you'd have twice as much comment. And
Yes.
Facebook, I'm not even sure the algorithm um, even
Cares if
can
it's
tell the
you
difference.
commenting or right.
You know?
I'm not sure either, because it shows just the total amount of comments.
Yeah.
But also, one of the things that I've been thinking as we're talking is, we talked about the photo and we're talking about comments, but also what you say in your caption is important. Like
Yeah.
you mentioned asking a question or doing so. It has to be something that's going to really engage or speak to who your audience is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is especially true on, say, Twitter, where the trend category, or the trend, on the side of the Twitter interface, there's trending. Facebook
Uh-huh.
doesn't really have an equivalent to that. Um, um, so hashtags on, and these are keywords, everybody, hashtags on Instagram, hashtags on Twitter. Facebook keeps saying it's using hashtags, but I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, me either. But LinkedIn, hashtags on LinkedIn,
Yes.
they work. Yeah.
Yeah. So if something's trending, like, say, Independence Day, July 4th, if you use hashtag July 4th around Independence Day, the algorithm opens up for you, because a lot of people are accessing it. A lot of people are also tweeting about it or hashtagging it. The media is looking it up, because the media needs a fresh news cycle on July 4th. And the trick is, when you get up in the morning, to guess every day what the trend is, what the hashtag is. Unfortunately, a lot of the trends are political and negative. I mean, you just can't hashtag pandemic 365 days in a row. You're going to wear everybody out. And who wants to see that kind of post?
Yeah. You also have to be careful, because sometimes, especially Facebook or Instagram, who Facebook owns Instagram, right? They will cut off access to certain hashtags
Yeah.
on if something is really popular and people are using it to spam,
Yeah.
they will cut off access to that hashtag. So you have to I think you have to use a mix of hashtags that are popular as well as longer. Like if we were talking about keywords, I would call them long tail keywords. But
Yeah.
with hashtags, we're talking about just more granular hashtags that you may reach a smaller audience, but they're your audience still.
So let's talk about the long tail for a minute. So what Tiana is saying is, for example, I'm a motivational speaker, but motivation is way overused on all social media. So if I just do hashtag motivation, a while back, a lot of the social media platforms said, no, we're going to start penalizing you for that, because too many people are using it. Same thing with Monday, hashtag Monday. So you want to use what Tiana's calling long tail keywords, and you can actually add a word to the other word, which creates a much more unusual character string. And by the way, more people may be likely to see what you're posting. So I love the long tail concept. I think it's brilliant. You can do the same thing when you tag your YouTube videos, everybody. Tiana, we both belong to groups that we're trying to teach and help them curate Facebook pages. And sometimes we're working with admins who think they know a lot about marketing. I don't know what it is about marketing, but it's like any other discipline, everybody. If you go to school, you have to go to school for a number of years, and then you get initials after your name. You're not a good marketer because you think you are, people, you know? And so
Yes.
I have a text. I saved it the other day on my phone. Oh, I bet you I can find it too. It's a fun little text because this nice person was saying that that he thought his opinion mattered when it came to marketing results. His guess, in other words. See if I can
Okay.
find it here. Yeah, here it is. This is the now. So I was trying to have a pretty high level conversation, kind of like we're doing today, saying,
Uh-huh.
look at your data, try to use numbers, go with best practices. And here's the person's response. My own research indicates that such and such gets the most recognition, but this also works. So I do both. And I'm like, well, you're making it so complicated. Just do the one that works.
Right.
Um,
Do
but
do
it's just a hard thing. People think they know a lot about marketing. I don't know what it is.
I think that especially when it comes to social media, because we're all using Facebook, right? Everybody in the world is on Facebook, so we think that we know how to do it.
Yeah.
And it seems somewhat more conceptual. It's not like you're a surgeon where you have to learn, but um, it is, I think, where you get the best marketing is at the intersection of great creative and data. Like you have to know what people are actually doing, not what you think people are doing or what you would do as a consumer, but who is actually purchasing from you. Because you may think that your audience is, I don't know, stay-at-home moms with two children. Yet the data, which we can easily find if you have your online properties tagged in the right way, will tell you that you will know your audience is actually dads, and you never thought that. But there's no way that you can optimize or grow if you're not looking at the numbers.
Yeah, it's 100% true. Um, and what's interesting too is that there are certain numbers that are like success formulas. You may not agree with my set of numbers, but if it's my experience, then it's a lot closer to the truth than say some capricious and arbitrary guess, which
Right.
is what some people really defend. Here's an example, everybody. If you're trying to get 100 people to a Zoom event, it's probably going to take you about 10,000 internet impressions. Now we're introducing a new term here, impressions. An impression is just somebody sees it, right? They don't necessarily have to interact or engage, but you've impressed upon somebody 10,000 times, a bunch of people, that an event is happening on Tuesday, February 15th. And if you don't get 10,000 impressions, it's going to be really hard for that to translate to 100 attendees. So what most people don't believe the 10,000 number, so they get, say, half of that, and then they get 50 attendees, and then they congratulate themselves that they got 50.
Mhm.
They fell way, way short, but they're so happy with 50, they're like, oh, we're happy, it's good enough.
Right.
And good enough, unfortunately, happens a lot in social media. It's just good enough. And you could be rocking it. What do you tell clients when to help them manage their expectations in campaigns?
I tell clients that you have two choices generally when it comes to social media. You
Yeah.
can spend a lot of time or you can spend a lot of money. And like what I mean by time is really strategizing, organizing, planning so that you're showing up very consistently every day in social media so that you can get those impressions organically, because you have to build that community in order for you to be able to actually show up and for people to start engaging with you. And you have to be consistent to do it.
Yeah.
Or you can spend the money on the media and pay Facebook to show people your content.
Yeah.
So,
I would even put a finer point on that you could spend a lot of, let's say you opt out of the spend money piece and you're going to spend a lot of time. It's not a foregone conclusion that you're ever going to figure it out.
mm,
You're going to fall into this average category. Um, most people, statistically speaking, are average. So unless you've got some way to game the system, talent, you're working with somebody who knows what they're doing. You got a bunch of people working at the same time, so you're creating a lot of energy. This
Mhm.
is another problem I think with a lot of events is they get one or two people pushing out the information, and then after a while they sound like a broken record. It seems like they're the only one that are going to the event. But if it
Mhm.
seems like everybody's going, it's like back in the day before social, this is way before your time, there were dances at schools, and sock hops and stuff like that. And you ask people, are you going to be going to the sock hop? And if enough people didn't say yes, you're not going either,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So these days we call that critical mass. If it looks like a bunch of people are going, then it must be a thing.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because even we have clients who are nonprofits, similar to Rotary, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, we need your involvement. Like they have over 100 members. Like we need members to also help us to amplify this message because just like you were saying, if it seems like more people are doing it, that's what this viral thing is, right? It's when other people are amplifying your content for you. Um, that is how you get more people involved, create awareness and engagement.
So a funny story, a while back, I was in charge of a lot of these big events and it was my job to populate the room. And we were looking for a lot more than 100 people. This was pre-COVID now, so physical events. And I knew about something called the 100-day campaign. I knew you couldn't start promoting 2 weeks in advance and expect those kinds of numbers. So 100 days is approximately 3 months. And so we got a bunch of people together, this big ass committee, and here was the plan. They were going to have everybody on the committee post something once a day, each person post once a day. So you take your turn. It would all be on a preordained calendar. So the first time we did it was a mess because we were getting very poor quality posts. They were posting as required because it was homework and somebody was checking up on them, but the posts were crap. So we weren't getting the engagement in the pull. And I thought, well, let's think about this as a success and not a failure. Let's build on this. So the next event, we did the same thing, only this time we told them exactly what to post.
Yes.
I actually created an entire spreadsheet that had the person, the day, and the exact copy paste that included the URL because they would forget to do stupid stuff like they would say you should register for this event, but not give the URL. They would tell everybody that the event was happening, but they wouldn't endorse it. They would endorse the event, but not say they were going themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You need all of that stuff swimming in the same pool,
Right.
right? That passion and enthusiasm and excitement. I think if any component of it is missing, you're going to have a less than turnout.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was saying before, like I generally, if I'm being honest, I'm more of the strategy tactic person.
Yeah.
So I'm like, these are the types of things or activities that we need to do.
Yeah.
And my partner, she's very much, and we have, team members who are much more creative and can really bring that messaging together.
Yeah.
But what I've learned is that because I used to be a person that's just like, oh, it's just a numbers game. We reach X amount of people, we're going to get X amount of people or Y amount of people to show up. But
Right.
that's not always the case. The message is very critical. Like the way that you're communicating and how you are talking to your audience it makes a difference because that's why they're your people and not somebody else's.
That's right. And, if you said there were two types of people in the world, left brain and right brain, the left brain are those linear, analytical, here's, the engineer type, here's exactly what to do, but they don't have those people skills. They don't speak in exclamation points and
Right.
use, positive adjectives and stuff like that. These people, it's a wonder sometimes how they get through the day, the right brain people, because they can't seem to put one foot in front of the other, but man, are they excited. And you need both flavors. And in fact, the left brain people will sell your left brain people, and the right brain people will sell your right brain people.
Very true.
But that's when we got into those posts and started crafting right brain language and left brain language. And then we would mix it up. And if you're at home, everybody, or at work, and you're planning an event and you're like, these people are crazy. I can't be like Tiana and Michael. I'm never going to do a spreadsheet with 100 days of entries. Just do 5.
Yeah.
Find 5 really good ways to promote your event and then assign it to people. Do 7, one for each day of the week, and then
Yeah.
get that team together and say, all we need to have you do is share, put this on your clipboard, your computer clipboard, and just share it to our Facebook page, or share it here, or share it to your personal page. It can be done. But
And one thing,
yeah,
I
please.
was gonna say, and one thing that I do often is designate a theme for your days as you're planning your
Oh,
content.
that's good.
So like it makes it a lot easier to streamline what you're creating. And if you batch it all at one time, like you just designate 2 hours to create this content, you get it out the way, you have a month's worth of posts based on your calendar and theme, and you're ready to go.
100%. And then don't forget, guys, when you get these killer posts online, you got to circle back and clean up the comments and answer people and, appear lifelike. When you dump and run like that, when it's just when you're working from a bulletin board site where people are just dumping stuff all the time, and this is a problem, of course, in a lot of organizations. It's insulting and it's rude, and there are no relationships being developed. Everybody's trying to out promote each other. You got people stepping on each other. Like, I'll post something and 5 seconds later somebody else posts, and it's just one continual feed of garbage. It's a lot of calories being burned and nobody losing any weight, if you ask me.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing about why it's called social media. It is a social space. In order to make it work, you have to build community
Yeah.
with your people. Engage with them, talk to them, ask them things that they care about or that you think they may care about. You may find that they don't. So ask something else.
I like, when you get that little conversation going in social, moving them to other places. Like, I never put my email address or my phone number in because it's the internet, but I might say, send me a PM or a message me so we can talk more about this, or check out the full description on our website, and I'll put the link into the actual product or to the actual event. So when you can get people, it's like the whole premise of a sales funnel is they enter the funnel at the top, everybody, and then they're going to circle in there and then they drop through, right? The longer they're in your funnel, the idea is that the further they would drop into the funnel. So the prospects come into the top of the funnel and they drop out the bottom as customers, either a conversion or in the case of a free event, they've registered. In the case of a product purchase, they've bought something, they've given you a credit card number, right? And certainly in the case of your clients, retail clients, they're getting more visitors to the store, or they're getting their ticket punched in some way.
Yeah. Right. Conversions, purchases. And I always, you're exactly right. To me, social media for clients is a means to an end. So we are pushing them through the funnel. And then on the back end, we want to replenish that funnel, right? We want people that we want them to like us, and we want them to tell their friends. We want them to share so that we can get more and bring them back into the funnel. So we're always pushing people through.
I mean, how cool when people are so excited about what's happening that they actually invite other friends to the funnel, other associates, like-minded people. I mean, this is the essence of Facebook groups and tagging. Tagging can get out of hand if you just start tagging people all the time to prop up your posts. People figure that out. But once in a while, if it's sincere and heartfelt, I think it's a good way to go. It's nice to talk to somebody who knows what she's doing.
Thank you.
I wish I could have that experience more often. This is Tiana Starks, everybody, Starks. She's all over social. And her company is Brandhrt, BRANDHRT.com. She's the COO. She does digital marketing for all kinds of companies, including retail establishments. And she's based in Southfield, Michigan. But you work with people everywhere, right?
Yeah, anywhere, people and all over Michigan for sure.
Yeah.
We actually have an office in Ypsilanti as
Okay.
well.
Good.
And we're digital, so we can work with anyone. I have a client that's based out of Texas too.
Okay.
So
I like it. You and I
well,
are involved with an event coming up. I'm going to speak at an event for your Southfield area Rotary Club. Let's talk about that as we close up. Um, Everybody said when we went Zoomtopia that it was going to be easier to get more people to Rotary meetings because they could come from anywhere. And for a short period of time that was true, and then everybody got Zoom fatigue. And now you got to work really hard to be different enough and differentiate your program enough so people would actually make time to be on. A lot of Zoom experiences have been quite a bit less than. So you and
yeah,
I are going to be working to strategize ways that we can, and I thought this interview was a fun way to do that because we can use this video to show people that we've got game. Certainly, you can use this video to show people what kind of personality and where I come from, because I don't know about you, but I only need to see a few seconds of a speaker to know I like him or her.
yeah.
And that's why I recommend using video to promote speakers. I know you guys have a speaker series. So I know you're constantly on the lookout for that signature video from speakers so that you can make it easier to sell them, right?
Yeah, and just any type of content. Actually, Michael, I'm gonna steal this
Yeah. Yeah.
with our next speaker and invite them to do a Zoom with me so that we can get them talking
There you go.
for promotional purposes.
I love it.
Yeah.
So we
So
didn't talk much about my content on the day of my talk, but you will do that with the next speaker, like a preview.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah, for
fabulous.
sure.
And if this talk went 20 or 25 minutes, the preview only needs to be 5 minutes, really.
For sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
people on TV sell us an automobile in 30 seconds. You should be able to sell a speaker in 5 minutes. The speaker should be able to sell themselves in 5 minutes, I think.
Yeah, honestly, people don't, like you were saying, you don't need that long. People on social media, they don't want to watch a 10-minute video. They don't want to watch a 5-minute video. If you could sell somebody in 90 seconds, perfect.
I want to share this before we wrap up. I was watching Jerry Seinfeld. He's got a new book out. He was being interviewed about the art of comedy. He's a wise old man now, so he talks about the creative process and how he's been able to have such a long, fruitful career. And he's very systematic about how he goes about comedy. And he put out some numbers. I'm not going to be able to remember exactly what he said, but he said the 1 hour is like the gold standard in the comedy business. If you see people like Chris Rock or Seinfeld or Ron White on television and they're doing 1 hour, they've got their shit together. They've got some tight content. There are a few more people that have a tight 40 minutes, right? And all kinds of comics have a hot 20,
Right. Okay.
which is the stand-up 20-minute bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it is hard for a speaker to be interesting for more than 5 minutes in a video. I mean, you got to have some content, you got to have personality, it's like a 3-ring circus trying to keep people's attention.
For sure. I don't know if you're into Malcolm Gladwell, but
for sure.
So I was listening to his podcast and he was talking about him giving a speech. And he was like, this is you guys came here for me to do this. Like, this isn't hard, but a comic, they have a really hard job. They have to convince you that they're funny or it's going to be a rough night for them. So that's what that made me think of.
Well, I'm so appreciative of your time today. Thank you very much. I look forward to working with you more in the future in Rotary World and other things.
Yeah.
It's Tiana Starks, everybody. She's at brandhrt.com, BRANDHRT. Thank you, Tiana.
Thank you.
See you soon.
All right. Bye.